Hi, everyone, and welcome to weeks 13 and 14. So, this is the end of the semester, the last 2 weeks. And this course ends 1 week earlier than what you're used to because there's not a break. There is a break because we don't give you any work in week 8, but there's not a break between classes like you're used to. So, you actually get done a whole week earlier and get another extra week, hopefully with a little bit of break anyway from school. So this week we are wrapping up talking about special populations in certain situations, and you are mainly going to be watching videos. So let's just work through this. And then I have one thing that I want to talk to you about that has to do with the vagus nerve. And while that doesn't sound all that interesting, um, it's actually really quite important. And there's some things that we can do that will strengthen our vagus nerve. Okay? And so we're going to talk about a little bit about treatment. All right. So in this week, we have weeks 13 and 14. The presentations are divided between the 2 weeks. So you're not looking at, 14 different presentations all at the same time. Here there is a Perry and Salzwitz chapter called Healing Communities, which I think wraps up the course very nicely. The chapter 8 with Rothschild, talking about how somatic memory becomes a personal history. A lot of the experiences that we're talking about, especially things that are repeated over and over again, become a part of who the person is and how they interact with the world around them. And then the epilogue, choices to be made, from the van der Kolk book. So here's a reminder about applying. If you want to apply for the trauma certificate or the IDD certificate, you need to do that by the end of this course. All right, so here are some instructions. You are going to make your trauma explanation summary video, and one person is going to come here and post their group's video. So all of the group videos will be here. You'll come here and watch the video. So it's important that you title your post with the type of trauma that your video is focusing on and the names of the people who are presenting, okay? Then after watching the video, so you don't have to wait to make comments on this. If you just decide on Saturday or Monday, or Saturday, I mean like tomorrow, because this is before week 13, or Monday or Tuesday to watch all of them and then go to each of the discussions and work on that, then go for it, okay? You don't have to wait. They will be due by Thursday, though. All right, so then you're going to the corresponding week. Let's look at each week. Okay. So this is domestic violence. And for each of the videos, you're going to watch the video and you're going to say what you learned from the video that you could potentially use in practice, your practice, present or future, or maybe things that you wish you had used in your past practice. What you thought the strengths of the explanation summary were. What did everybody do really well? This is not a critique of people. This is an observation of, if I were in this situation, I might have done it a little bit differently. And I think that adds to how we might add tools to our toolbox. So I'm the co-clinical director in our clinic. We have a clinic for vulnerable adults on campus, but right now it's virtual. We were partly virtual before this all COVID thing happened. Um, and each week we have students present something. Sometimes it's stretching, breathing, whatever it is. And we usually take a good 20 minutes to a half an hour to process how that worked, um, how you might use it in different populations, what kinds of adjustments could be made, what worked well for some people but didn't work for other people. It's just, I don't know, it's just how we might look at things because people are different. So again, it's not a critique of what you're doing. It's really just looking at, let's expand on how we think about this. If you had a chance to explain the impact of the same kind of trauma, and you would approach a teen, a child, or an older adult. We have one dyad, so you'll only see two of those populations presented to. What would you do differently? Okay, so I'm sorry, so things are not due on Thursday, they're due on Sunday. You get a couple of extra days. Good news, right? Okay, so domestic violence, you see the same thing for community trauma. These are all due in week 13. School violence. Now, sexual assault is in week 14, so this will be due Sunday of week 14. Traumatic brain injury, it's all the same, week 14. And then here are your final thoughts. So this week, anything that you would like to say to your fellow classmates or anything you want to leave a note for me about would be, you could do that here. You're just encouraged to respond. I don't even think this is graded yet. It's an optional thing, but it's nice to say goodbye. You've spent some time with everybody. Okay. And then finally, we have a self-care video for you, a guided relaxation. So let me just go back to what I said in the beginning of the video, that I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about the vagus nerve and what we can do to strengthen our vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, and all the cranial nerves come out of the back of our brain and then go to different parts of our face, neck, body. But the vagus nerve is a nerve that's the longest nerve in our body, and it runs from our brain to our gut, to our intestines. Okay? And it has some really important functions in our body. It's what makes our heart beat, and it helps us to breathe. And it also, sorry, that's a vagal nerve issue. It innervates our larynx. And sometimes when you're not able to talk or you get hoarse, that something is affecting your larynx. It goes to every organ in our body. And while it's, happening around that organ, it does some observation of what's happening there. And if there's something that's not quite right, its job is to send a message back up to the brain to let the brain know that this organ needs some help. Okay? So it is, we know we have a brain in our head, but this is also called the brain in our gut, the second brain that we have. This, the vagus nerve, in our intestines, our intestines oh my goodness. Okay, wait, I'm going to take a deep breath. Hang on. Let's get my brain working right. Okay, in our intestines is situated the majority of our immune system. And it's also where the majority of our neurotransmitters are produced. So there's about 10% of the information travels along the vagus nerve from our brain to our intestines. 90% of information actually moves from our intestines to our brain. Okay? That's really important, isn't it? That all this information is coming from a part of our body up to our brain, and it's traveling along this vagus nerve. And that this vagus nerve is out there searching our body organs to see if we need an immune response, or if we need neurotransmitters in our brain to be, we need more neurotransmitters in our brain. It also, I thought this was really interesting, and I've known about the other parts of this, but I just recently read that the vagus nerve is what helps us consolidate memories. I also knew this before, but this fits into with our parasympathetic nervous response, and that's part of the vagus nerve's job. So if you think about what happens in our brain because we've had a trauma experience, and our hippocampus and our amygdala is what works around the emotions, and that's attached to a memory because that helps our memory know what our brain know what memory is important. So the more emotion, the more significance that's attached to that memory, the more important it is. So that when we get triggered in the back of our brain, danger, danger, that goes to the middle of our brain and goes, yep, I've been here before. We need a sympathetic nervous response. Let's get into action right now. With trauma, those things pile up, and we can, that response from the back of our brain to the middle of our brain, our limbic system, can go into overdrive. So then people feel like they're in danger all the time. So all throughout this course, we've spent time practicing things that can be calming and relaxing, but not for everybody, right? So somebody was doing baking and cooking, but that's not for everybody. Somebody was listening to music, but maybe that wasn't the kind of music that you might listen to. Okay? So we want lots of options so that we can explore those options with people and see what works for them. So if we know all of these things, one other part I should mention too, that the most of our cranial nerves have either a sensory function or a motor function, like they innervate muscles and I can move my hands and my whole body. That's my motor functions. Or I can feel sensations. I can smell things and I can taste things and I can hear things. Those are sensory. The vagal nerve is one of only a couple of nerves that actually has both functions, both motor and sensory. Okay. It also has a lot to do even with our esophagus and swallowing. Like every bit of our gastrointestinal system is that's the main part of where our vagal nerve is, and that it then branches out into our other organs and brings in information. Okay. So here are things that we can do that would strengthen our vagus nerve. And that this also helps to reduce depression and anxiety and to treat people that have post-traumatic stress disorder. So we've done a lot of breathing throughout this, and that breathing, especially when we hold our breath in for 4 to 6 counts, activates that parasympathetic nervous response and calms things down in our body. So breathing is super important. When we practice breathing, this has some resonance with our heartbeat. And the combination of those two and how your breathing and heart rate work together is called heart rate variability. So when we meditate and we focus on breathing, we can actually increase the heart rate variability in our heart, the variability. So we want our heart to be flexible, to be responsive, to speed up when we have a sympathetic response and slow down when we're in a calmed, focused state. Okay? So that variability is important. Like our heartbeat should be pretty regular. It's not making an irregular heart rate. It's just meaning that our heart is more responsive. I hope that if that doesn't make sense, just let me know. Okay. So increasing our heart rate variability can be done through there's tools. There's lots of things, pick up your phone, Insight Timer. There's all kinds of programs that will allow you to practice breathing in a particular way that increases heart rate variability. Normally, we breathe 10 to 14 times a minute. What we're going for when we want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system are slow breaths so that we take something like 6 breaths in a minute, and that we're breathing using our abdomen. So we breathe in and we push out our abdomen. So we get all of our air as deep into our lungs as we can, and we push our abdomen out, and then we let it come back in. Okay? So that's one thing that can increase vagal nerve tone. Cold is also something that stimulates the vagus nerve. Now, you could take a cold shower, but that might be really uncomfortable. Or finish your shower with, a few seconds of cold water. You could do that. But you don't have to use that as a way to be exposed to cold. You could take a cold wash rag and wash your face. That would have a vagus nerve stimulation. You could take a walk outside. We don't like to walk outside sometimes when it's cold. And so instead, you maybe dress warm. You'll still feel the cold on your face. That is a vagal nerve stimulator. Breathing cold exposure. Yes, because the vagus nerve stimulates our larynx. Singing, humming, chanting, and gargling are all things that also stimulate or strengthen the vagus nerve. Okay? Probiotics and prebiotics. So we don't have time for me to talk a lot about what those things are, but maybe you've heard them. You can look them up. There's tons of information on the internet about that. And that is because they help to strengthen our immune system. So we can take supplements, but we can also eat food that offer probiotics and prebiotics. So something that is a probiotic would be something like yogurt. That would be a probiotic. Prebiotics might be things that like fermented kinds of things, sauerkraut, fermented pickles, just fermented. The kimchi might be something else. It's a prebiotic. We need prebiotics to make probiotics. Okay, you can take a supplement. Just want to be careful about what kind of supplements that you take. All right, meditation is another way to strengthen the vagus nerve. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are used for all kinds of important functions in our body, and we get those from eating fatty fish. You can also take supplements for those. Sometimes eating things can be healthier than taking extra kinds of products. Exercise, especially if we're out walking, bilateral stimulation. But interval training is also very helpful. Yoga is very helpful. So interval training is like I walk a couple of minutes and then I run a minute. I walk a couple of minutes and I run a minute. Or if I'm lifting weights, I might lift weights and then stretch, lift weights and stretch. It's the interval of a couple of minutes of this and a couple of minutes of that, okay, and switching it up. Massage, I love massage, but COVID is not a good time. Pandemic is a little scary going to a room and being with a person that close to get a massage. But we can do self-massage. We can massage our hands, we can massage our arms, we can massage our own shoulders, our necks, okay? We can do that too. Yoga is a form of self-massage. We are stretching muscles in our body in a similar way as we might if we were having a massage. Okay. Socializing with other people, and especially laughter, also help to strengthen our vagus nerve. And let's see, what else? Eating more plants, making sure that you sleep well, and sleeping on your right side stimulates the vagus nerve. Talked about high intensity training, processing emotions that we have. So, pushing out emotions so that they fall on top of somebody else, not that healthy. Holding in emotions, also not that healthy. So we want to be able to process emotions in a healthy way. And last, posture. We kind of slump over. We're actually adding pressure to things like our heart and our lungs and our gut, and it makes it more difficult for those body parts to work as well as they could. Okay, so this is my final offer to you about here's some ways to take care of yourself and to teach others how to take care of themselves. All right, I'm always in the course until after the course is finished. But this is my last video for you. And so I've really enjoyed working with you. I look forward to seeing your presentations, and I will definitely be in the course with you, responding to presentations and also in checking your final thoughts, okay? If you have questions, please let me know. Message me in Canvas. I appreciate that. And I will see you in the course, okay? Bye.